Sometimes you bet on the wrong horse. Every day, I'm sure Peter Jenner and Andrew King wake up out of bed, shake their heads, and realize they picked the wrong guy. Who are these people? And what am I talking about? These men made the decision to manage Syd Barrett of the now very popular Pink Floyd. Syd left the band right after Pink Floyd's first album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, released in 1967. This would be years before they would hit superstardom. So, who is this Syd Barrett, and what kind of album did he release? Let's find out. At the beginning, Syd might have been the creative force behind Pink Floyd as the original singer and songwriter, but that didn't make him a responsible bandmate. A typical breakfast for Syd was eggs, tea, and tabs of heaping LSD. The man took so much acid that it fried his brain, leaving him to stand on stage in a stupor while others had to cover for him. It got so bad that the band pulled in another guitarist, David Gilmour, to play when Syd was unable to. Eventually, the band kicked him out, unable to deal with his antics. Jenner and King recruited Syd, bringing him to EMI. Believing that Syd was the heart and soul of Pink Floyd and unaware to the extent that he had lost his mind, they thought they had chosen wisely. They couldn't have been more wrong. What awaited them and two other sets of producers were headaches, mania, mental illness, and a year and a half before Syd's first solo album was released, The Madcap Laughs. Syd left Pink Floyd in April of 1968. In May, Jenner began recording the album. For 2 months, Jenner tried to record several tracks to no avail. He's able to get a lot of the instrumental parts, but vocals really became a challenge. He reports later that he underestimated the issues with working with him. At the end of July, Syd disappears from the taping sessions after breaking up with his girlfriend at the time and is checked into a psych ward in Cambridge. After a year in 1969, Syd feels better and leaves the psychiatric facility, beginning work on his solo career again with EMI under the new prog label Harvest. At this point, Jenner declines to work on the album. No surprise there. And we move on to producer number 2, Malcolm Jones. Malcolm Jones puts his neck out on the line, convincing his boss, Ray Featherstone, to give Syd another chance to try to produce this album. In April of 1969, recording commences. Syd plays his old tapes of what he had from the last recording sessions. Jones believed he could work with it and began trying to overdub these tracks. Things seemed to go better at first, with several tracks being recorded and Jones feeling good. Both he and Syd map out their next steps at lunch and agree to meet the next week for more recording. When Jones walks into the studio for the next session, he finds Syd has brought other musicians to accompany him, Jerry Shirley and Willie Wilson, even though Syd had originally agreed for it to be a just him solo album. This is where problems again arise. These musicians describe later how it wasn't an issue of playing with Syd, but following him. Syd seemed to enjoy this, almost smiling at how he would know something that the band wouldn't. Jones was beginning to lose patience, but he wouldn't completely lose faith until the following week, when Syd would appear again with a tape recorder of motorcycle sounds to use for a song idea that, in Jones' words, sounded terrible. Jones convinced Syd to use the gigantic EMI sound effects library, but Syd would spend an hour just trying to find the right sound. Next, Jones would contract colitis, and the next session was almost canceled, but somehow, at the last second, it went onward anyway. Jones warned EMI not to let Syd into the studio unaccompanied, but the studio refused to heed his warning. Syd remixed all of the tracks to the songs that Jones was working on, making them sound even worse. Syd chose to invite more musician friends, this time from the band Soft Machine, to help him. The band would ask what key a certain piece was in, and Syd would only respond by saying, "Yeah," or "Huh, that's funny." During the next sessions, when Syd tried to add backwards guitar to pieces, Jones had had enough and abandoned the project. Strangely enough, David Gilmour, Syd's replacement from Pink Floyd, had taken interest in how Barrett's solo project was coming along. This brings us to Act 3. Syd turns to the producers and says during a session that he's going to go for an afternoon drive. Instead, he follows Pink Floyd on their tour to Ibiza and asks them point blank if they can help him produce his solo album. Both Rogers and David Gilmour agree, probably more out of guilt than anything else. At this point, it's June of 1969. Waters and Gilmour come in and finish this album in a 2-day stint. It's slapdash, finished with Barrett hand-waving on tracks that definitely needed remixing. But somehow it's deemed appropriate. Against Gilmour and Waters' judgment, They follow Syd's wishes and release this, the Madcap Laughs. So what do we get? Honestly, strange acoustic folk music that is poorly produced. There are slivers of the old Syd Barrett greatness in tracks like Octopus or Terrapin, but they are undercut by exploitive tracks like Feel, where Syd Barrett sings so off-key, you gotta wonder if Pink Floyd was trying to punish him. When you look back at an album like this, you begin to wonder, with a man that was so obviously struggling with his mental health, was it right for all of these people to be even producing this album? There were several signs throughout the process where they could have stopped, but instead, they pushed forward, more interested in potential dollar signs at the end of the tunnel or a chance of revenge, rather than Syd's mental well-being. The Syd Barrett story is a sad one. He goes on to do 2 more albums before he hangs up the music stuff for good. He retreats into himself, fading into obscurity, becoming a poster child for drug taking gone wrong. When we look back through our 21st century eyes, it's hard not to see the issues with mental health within our community. We laugh, we shrug, we ignore. In our ignoring, we let these people who truly need help suffer. If they were bleeding out on the street, we would help them. So why do we allow someone like Syd to be shown in this light when he obviously needed help? Preserved on the Madcap Laughs is a cry for help, a cry to fix the mental health crisis, a cry to do something. Can I recommend this album? I mean, not musically, but as a cursor for change? I hope so. The production story of this album is bonkers. It's easy to laugh at Syd, but instead, the next time you hear stories like this or encounter someone with these issues, reach out and help. Thank you for watching. If you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe. I can't keep doing this without your help. If you have any thoughts or want to take part in a mental health discussion, please leave your comment below. I hope this helps. I love y'all.